So Star Wars The Last Jedi. Alright, let's do this. So last night, I was treated to watching Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is the eighth installment of the Star Wars universe for movies. So if you haven't watched this movie, stop watching this video, go out to the cinema, watch this movie, and come back to this video. So after watching this movie last night, I've had about probably a day or so gathering my thoughts about the whole show. If you guys can recall, the last movie review I did was Rogue One. I'll link it in the description. And the this was a tough one for me to review. Um, it was about the level of the prequels when it came down to where it kind of stood in my favorites for all the Star Wars movies. I've had a day to process the way that Disney and Rian Johnson have gone with this particular movie, and I'm not sure I really care for the way that they're taking the series. I know there's a whole bunch of movies coming out, but it's not something I'm really interested in seeing. I'm not sure how much my interest is going to be held now going forward with some of these Star Wars movies. So let's give a rundown of the characters and what I thought of each of them. Daisy Ridley did a great job as Rey. Again, she was pretty convincing as a Force awakened individual. Pretty strong female character again, very likable. You know, she was just as good, I would think, or maybe a little bit better in this movie than Force Awakens. So no problems with Daisy Ridley at all. Great actress, and great performance in this movie. The other major actor for me in this particular movie was Mark Hamill, who plays probably my favorite character in the Star Wars lore, which is Luke Skywalker. Being an old school guy, I've always loved Luke Skywalker. I loved his character, the fact that he had this unknown Jedi heritage, and he's on a farm, and then he becomes this great hero in the Star Wars universe. It's fantastic, and I always loved Luke as a character. So Mark Hamill's portrayal of Luke in this one was interesting, and I knew that Rian Johnson and the production staff had this interesting vision for Luke, which I know Mark Hamill did not agree with, and I didn't agree with it either. I have no clue about some of the choices that his character made, and some of the choices with the story in general. Carrie Fisher again, greatest Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher has always done a great job with Leia. I think she's the perfect person to play it. She was great in this movie. Unfortunately, rest in peace, Carrie. I know she passed away while filming this movie, so they kind of had to change the plot a bit just to kind of fit it in. So she did a great job. We have Adam Driver, who plays Kylo Ren, and he was fantastic in this movie as well. Great acting, and I thought he was really convincing as a conflicted Jedi slash Sith individual. Fantastic acting by Adam Driver, and I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to progress, I guess, for him in the next movie, but we'll see how that goes. Oscar Isaac again as Poe Dameron was fantastic. I think he had one of the best performances next to Mark Hamill in this one. Really convincing as a flyboy. I think he was great as a character who just wants to go guns blazing into war and fighting and everything. It's fantastic. I just love his character. He's believable, and I think he's perfect as a starfighter pilot. So that's fantastic. Honestly, I could probably do without Finn in this entire series. Like, he was decent and he was integral in the first part of this trilogy. He was important in helping Poe and in Force Awakens, but in this movie, I'm like, he had like nothing to do. His character was kind of funny sometimes, and again, I'm like, okay, well, all the funny bits, he has no real purpose in here. It seems like he's just kind of thrown in to satisfy a certain demographic of an audience, which leads me to the next character, who's played by Kelly Mary Tran, who plays Rose Tico. She's an Asian character, and I think they were really trying to bump up having an Asian character plus a female lead that plays an integral part in the story, and I could have just done without her too. Like, honestly, there is one section of the movie where John Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran have to go to a planet to go get some kind of, you know, to get some kind of cryptor or decryptor guy, guy that can, you know, help them help the fleet escape. And you know, I just didn't buy it. You know, she found her character annoying. You know, at the end of the movie, they end up you know, getting close, and I didn't buy it at all. And I don't understand why they're throwing these characters in. I mean, if you're gonna have a female character, just make her a strong, really strong female character. Make us buy into the fact that you really care for this character, and I didn't buy it at all. So yeah, John Boyega as Finn, go, and then Kelly Tran as Rose Tico, just get out of the movies. I don't care. Yeah. So anyway, let's get down to the nitty gritty about the movie. Here are just some of the things I had that really kind of bothered me about the movie. And the first one is there's this one sequence which made no sense, where Kylo Ren goes down with his squadron, and he's about to shoot his rockets at Princess Leia's ship and hit the bridge. And he knows it's her. He's about to shoot her. He decides not to, but then his squadron members just shoots these two rockets at the bridge, and for some reason there's no shields on this bridge, even though the dreadnought and even though the star destroyers are all shooting at this particular escaping rebel mothership, and there's shields, but when he goes down, there's no shields. That's one, and it's a direct hit on the hull or of the bridge, and you know, Princess Leia gets sucked out, and she's out in space for like a few minutes, and then somehow the Force it's so stupid. The Force is still alive within her, and she moves her fingers, and then she gets this Mary Poppins thing, I think, where she just kind of like flies into the open space through the shield, and she gets to the door of the bridge where it's between the corridor, and then she hits it, and then they bring her in without any of the other, like, I think Rose Tico and Finn getting sucked out. I think was it Finn? Or was it Poe? But anyway, they don't get sucked out when they open the door for her. So I'm not really sure if Ryan Johnson knows how space works, or he's ever watched a science fiction movie with space in it, so I was a little confused. Anyway, yeah, that part didn't make any sense. I mean, I know that Carrie Fisher died while they were filming this, so I figured this was the way she was going to die, and that made sense. That Kylo Ren's an evil character, and he eventually, you know, his troops, or he kills both his mother and father, because he killed Han Solo in Force Awakens. So okay, that I could have lived with that. That was cool. But for some reason they bring her back because she's able to force float and keep herself alive in space. Yeah, whatever. That didn't make any sense. One big issue I also had with the whole plot was that Rey tries to get trained by Luke Skywalker, and she goes down to the planet where Luke is in hiding, and he basically is not interested um, in training her because he thinks he failed Kylo Ren. He's going to fail her too, and she's going to become evil because she has so much power. But then she gets zero training from Luke Skywalker. He teaches her like 3 lessons. She leaves because she's sick of waiting for him to teach her, and then all of a sudden she's like amazing with a lightsaber and she knows how to fight because there's this gigantic fight where Kylo Ren and Rey fight the Praetorian troopers in Snoke's, um, Snoke's palace slash bridge area, which made no sense. So I was like, okay, well, she's naturally gifted, I guess. Whatever. I don't know how they came up with that, but anyway. Which also leads into another point that didn't make any sense was Snoke. Supreme Commander Snoke was supposedly this really powerful character, and he has this all-knowing power. He was able to convince Rey and Kylo Ren to like blend their minds and connect with each other and try bait Rey to leave Luke Skywalker and bring her back to his, the gigantic dreadnought, or Snoke's main ship. And he couldn't detect that Kylo Ren was going to like betray him, and he gets cut in half by Rey's lightsaber, but Kylo Ren's like moving the lightsaber with his hands, he's like flicking his finger, and he can't tell that the lightsaber is spinning, and then cuts him in half, and then he kills Snoke, who's supposedly this really powerful semi-Sith Lord. I guess you'd call him a Sith Lord. Everybody thought he was Plagueis, and they kill him off, and you don't know anything about him. And I was waiting to find out, okay, what the hell is Snoke? Where is he from? How did he become so powerful? Where did he learn all his Sith slash Jedi Force powers? Like, how did he learn everything? And nothing's explained. They just kill him off because, they just couldn't come up with anything. It's like J.J. Abrams, like, okay, I'm going to give you guys Snoke. He's like an awesome leader. Okay, Rian Johnson, you take it over. And Rian Johnson's like, yeah, I don't like Snoke, so I'm just going to kill him off. And you're like, really? It's like killing Darth Vader in killing Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, like by the second episode. Like they kill him in the Battle of Hoth, and you're like, yeah, Darth Vader's dead. You're like, okay. You're like, all right. And speaking of deaths, they also kill Admiral Akbar, who's probably the greatest general the Resistance had. He's been there since Rogue One, and then through the original 3 movies, and then they just kill him off. He's done. He gets sucked into space like Leia, except he didn't have the Force, and he's done. And they were kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, Admiral Akbar got sucked out into space and he's dead. And in continuing, and then they just keep going. You're like, everybody's like, oh, okay, and that was it. Whatever. I'm afraid like this show has some weak writing, and yeah, almost sounded like Stewie. Weak writing. So there's another part in the show that doesn't make any sense. Is there's after the battle in Snoke's palace chambers or his main bridge area, Kylo Ren and Rey are doing like this force pull of Luke's lightsaber, and then it breaks in half and they get knocked out from the blast. But then next thing you know, on the Salt Planet, when the final assault happens by Kylo Ren, Rey somehow is on the Millennium Falcon with Chewie, and you never find that out, and they don't explain that. Anyway, so what's crazy is that Rey is a child who had, force sensitive powers, but she's able to be really super strong and do all these things without any training, whereas every Jedi, including Anakin, had to be trained. Even Luke had to be trained on how to use the Force, but for some reason Rey, who's never been trained by Luke Skywalker, is able to do all these Jedi tricks, and you're like, how is she able to do all of this? She's not trained at all. She just left too early because she couldn't wait for Luke. So that didn't make any sense to me either. What also sucks is that people had all these excellent ideas of who Rey's parents were, and they thought that she was powerful because she must have had Jedi parents, and none of that, none of that came true. She had junker parents, and her parents were nobody, and she was just force sensitive, and that was it. And all those theories and all those websites, everybody was talking about theories about it, all went down the tube. They're like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, forget these guys. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't have any good ideas. Her parents are nobody. She's just force sensitive. Okay, and next page. Next thing. That's it. The other big thing was, what was the whole thing with Rey going down into the hole and finding that dark mirror, trying to figure out who her parents were? They don't explain what that dark mirror thing was and what its significance was, and was it like a Jedi training tool? Nothing's explained there either. She just goes down to the hole, comes out of the water, and there's this dark mirror thing, and that's it. And she sees multiple instances of herself, and that's it. Whatever, didn't make any sense to me. There was a moment where Luke looks up at the altar after doing his astral projection bit at the end of the movie. He sees the two twin suns, and then he disappears, and that's the way of the director getting rid of Luke out of the entire storyline. He's not in physical form anymore. It just didn't make any sense to me that he would go that way. I thought he would go down a blaze of glory, or he'd go down fighting for the rebellion, the one that he was part of and protected for so long. But none of that happened. He just disappears, and it looks like he's looking at the twin suns, and he comes to some kind of a realization, but nothing's really explained. He's just kind of like, I'm tired, I'm just gonna go away now, and his clothes just just go floating into the wind, and that was it. And that's Luke Skywalker. And it's like, oh, he's gone. I'm like, okay, that's it then. All right, he's gone. He doesn't appear to Rey or anybody in like a force form yet. He will eventually, probably in the third movie of this trilogy, but anyway, you don't see anything like that. There was this really cool sequence where Holdo decides to save the escaping rebels who are in the light crafts, and she decides to turn her ship around finally after like 50,000 of them get shot, and she decides to hyperspace into Snoke's main ship. And it's cool how that happened, but the fact that she could have probably done that sooner, seeing that she was the only person on the ship, and for some reason this galactic ship of hers didn't have autopilot, just didn't make any sense. It's kind of like, oh, by the way, we gotta kill off Holdo too because we don't want to have Laura Dern back in the series. I was like, all right, no autopilot on this galactic cruiser, so whatever. So she's dead, and then she was able to save a few people, but I just wish she had done it earlier, where they were all getting shot. It just made no sense at all. So I'm just going to go over just some of the positives, which were few, and quite a few of the negatives. I had like pretty realistic expectations about this show, but I'll give you what I was expecting out of this movie and this series going forward, and yeah, I'll tell you why this movie just didn't cut it for me. So on the positives, Poe Dameron was great, fantastic character. He was one of the highlights in this show, including Mark Hamill, fantastic in this movie. It's just so great to see him play Luke Skywalker again. It was really good. I also love the idea that we got to see Yoda again in Force Ghost form. Seeing him in a puppet form instead of CG kind of like tugged at my heartstrings, because I'm like, I love that old style of practical effects, and I just love Yoda in the puppet form. Is fantastic, so that was a huge positive for me too. And the lightsaber fights were really cool. I love the Royal Guards in the red armor, and how their armor was like protective against lightsaber attacks. You could only hit them in certain areas for them to get hit. It was pretty cool. I could be wrong about the lightsaber deflecting off their armor, but that the red Praetorian armor guards, who are all different forms of look like kung fu and fighting, fantastic. That whole sequence where they're fighting was really cool. That was one of the highlights, I would say, of the show, is that just the armor and the way those guards look for Snoke. Phasma was cool. She had a few more lines, but I think she only says like 10 lines in this entire series. So she's kind of like a Darth Maul character. She just gets taken out. That's it, you know. And yeah, I mean, it was okay, but man, she looks so cool. You'd think they would do more stuff with her, but yeah, it's a little disappointing. At least you get to see her do more things, but you never know. Maybe she's not dead. I mean, she maybe she's not dead because I mean her armor could take blaster shots and deflect off it, and that's why she's all silver. Maybe the armor special, some type of special Mandalorian armor that they discovered and only gave to her, not the rest of the troops. You never know. So well, we'll see. Maybe she'll be back in the third movie of this trilogy. I like the caretakers. They were really cool on Luke's planet. That was good. They were well done for comedic relief. It didn't seem like they were thrown in just out of kind of like an afterthought. They had a purpose, and their purpose kind of made some of the scenes that they were in really funny. So that was good. What I do like too is because I watched all the Clone Wars, even before Luke said these words, how arrogant the Jedi Order was. It was interesting how I also thought that none of the Jedi in the Clone Wars saga were able to figure out that Palpatine was Darth Sidious. And it was pretty interesting how, my same thoughts came out with Luke, where he admits straight out that the Jedi were just arrogant. They didn't figure out, that the Emperor was scheming behind their backs, and it was fantastic that he brought that out. So that was a big positive for me. Another cool part was when Holdo turned her ship into Snoke's ship and did that hyperspace jump and took out all the other Star Destroyers, including part of Snoke's ship. And I thought that part was fantastic as well. So that was a really cool effect where it just goes dead silent after it happens, and then boom, the sound comes back. That was pretty cool. All right, so now for some of the negatives of this movie, and I have quite a few. First of all, the whole subplot with Rose and Finn going to go get the Codemaster, or whatever the hell he was called, which was Benicio del Toro, and his character, it was just lame. Where they go to that casino planet, it didn't really need to happen, and that is because the whole plot of them going was because Holdo never told Poe her plan, which didn't make any sense because Holdo knows that, okay, Poe Dameron is a hothead and he's a risk-taking pilot, but he's their ace pilot. Why wouldn't you tell him your plan, even if he was, kind of being a dick and not listening? It made no sense. The whole part with Rose and Finn could have been avoided if Holdo had just told Poe what her plan was, and they didn't have to go to the stupid planet, because the whole idea of going to the planet, getting the code guy to break the tracking device on the main ship, that would have all been useless, and they wouldn't have had to make that jump to that casino planet and do all that stuff. It seemed like they were just doing it because they wanted to do some fan service for the social justice warriors, so that the Asian girl and the black guy get something to do in this movie that was semi kind of important, which was completely useless in the first place. I don't know. The other lame part was also with Rose and Finn, was the whole part where she starts falling in love with him and then she kisses him. And I was like, first thing when she kissed him, I looked at my wife and I was like, whatever. I'm like, so not believable. I was like, what is this? It's like, I really thought Finn had a thing for Rey, but anyway, I don't know what they're doing. The interesting part too was when it came to the Dreadnought, is that you have Finn who kind of comes up right to the Dreadnought and he's stalling them. And while he has this really, really lame comedic moment where, Hux is trying to talk to him, he's like, "Hello, are you there?" "Oh, I'll just wait for Hux." "Hello." And the Hux is like, "Is he there? Can you hear me?" I'm like, "Come on, man!" Like such lame humor. It just it's like they're written the humor sometimes for adults who have the minds of 12-year-olds, and they think that that kind of simple comedy just works, and it doesn't. Anyway, so Poe's waiting in front of the Dreadnought, trying to stall him, and there's no shields in the Dreadnought, and he's able to take out all their turret guns. And they can't shoot him because he's in so close on the turret guns. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't the Dreadnought have shields? Even when they bomb the Dreadnought with the bombers that gets through the final one, the thing was Rose's sister was the one that releases the bombs. How come there's no shields in the Dreadnought? Like, it just takes hits and that's it. There's no shields. Every other ship has shields except for the Dreadnought. It just didn't make any sense. What also didn't make any sense was when Rose's sister is on her bomber, the doors open kind of like a World War II bomber, and she can see the Dreadnought below her. There's no vacuum that sucks her out into space. There's no shields because you don't see the bombs going through a shield as it hits the Dreadnought that doesn't have any shields. So again, Rian Johnson has no concept of how space works. I think he needs to take a science class. The other thing that kind of sucks is that Luke Skywalker is kind of done, I think, as like a main character. He's going to come back as a Force ghost, which kind of sucks. I was not too cool with that. I thought his main idea for this movie was to train Rey, which leads to my next negative, is like, how come Rey is able to take out trained Praetorian guards with zero training? She's kind of raw and not a very good fighter in Force Awakens. Nothing's really happened much. She just gets to the planet right after Force Awakens, but she has no training still. She doesn't know how to fight properly, and somehow she's okay with a lightsaber somehow, with zero training. I don't think Anakin was that good. It just didn't make any sense. Benicio del Toro's character was, I think, DJ. He was kind of useless. They just kind of threw him in there a little bit for something to do, I guess, to help the stupid plot of Finn and Rose. I guess, whatever, it made no sense. It didn't work out in the end anyway. I thought they would at least do something cool with him at the end when I was watching the movie. Okay, he's going to triple cross, the First Order and actually help the rebels, kind of like how Han Solo didn't want to help the rebels at first, but then he goes back because he feels guilty. I thought DJ would do the same thing too, but I guess that didn't work out either, so whatever. So that, what the hell do I know? I don't know how to write movie scripts, so looks like Disney doesn't have any good writers either. Yeah, the Porgs. Yeah, that was some... I like how they invent the creatures, who are super cute so they can sell merchandise and toys for the holidays. The whole thing where Chewbacca's screaming in the Millennium Falcon and the Porg is screaming too. I'm like, oh my god, why does every movie have to do that? Like, come on, Hollywood, man. Like, why? Why does every monster in any kind of movie have to look at the camera and go, rah? Like look at the camera and they roar. I'm like, come on, like, enough of that. Like, ugh. Another big negative, like, Finn adds like nothing to this series. He brings nothing to this series. He's always trying to escape. He always comes off as this coward, and he changes his mind. He was going to try and be a hero at the end, and then the whole idea of Rose like knocking him off the path of the battering ram thing that they have. Whatever, I would have been cool if he got killed. I just wish that Rose didn't stop that. I wish Rose would have hit him and they would have both gone into the battering ram, both got killed. So that would have made me totally happy that we don't see them again in this series. Another big negative is, what I don't understand is, why did Holdo wait so long for for her to decide to take her galactic ship and jump it into Snoke's ship. If she had done it a little earlier, she would have saved way more rebels than the ones that got shot down by Snoke's ship. It just didn't make any sense. The other thing that really bugged me about this movie is the lame jokes that were thrown in. It's kind of like they were trying to get laughs out of people. I know some people laughed in the theater, but a couple of times, where Hux is in the Imperial ship over the salt area, and he's telling Kylo Ren, no, you can't go down. Kylo Ren like force throws him, and the dude's like, right away, sir, and he opens the door for him to go so he can meet Luke at the bottom of the salt land or whatever the hell that place was. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. The whole intercom thing with Poe Dameron didn't work. It just made no sense. The Porgs being all so cute and Chewbacca feeling guilty just didn't make any sense. Yeah, some of the jokes were just lame. It felt like they were trying. It's like Finn is always like trying to be funny because he doesn't want to get caught being a traitor. Or just being a deserter. It just made no sense, God, I really hated Rose's character. I was like, oh, why is she in this movie? Just horrible. Coming to my my final thoughts on all of this. I didn't really care for this movie, I think because the plot was so convoluted. Honestly, I like my Star Wars movies really simple. And I'll tell you what I mean. When I watched A New Hope, it still holds up now because the plot is simple, because everybody understands this is a space fantasy, and there's nothing crazy going on. There's something called the Force, that a power they can have, kind of like magic like you have in fantasy. You have the good guys, then the bad guys. And the bad guys are all dressed the same. They have this one guy dressed in black, which was Darth Vader, and his leader was the Emperor, Darth Sidious, and he was dark. And he looked evil too. And then you have all these peons and all their stormtroopers were all these characters that all kind of looked the same. They were all dressed the same. And, they all listened to this evil character. And then you had the other side who were the good guys, who were all, they're all this mixed bag of different races, sizes, creed and color. They were all different. And that's why the rebels appeal to kids and everybody when they're young, because they look like it could be you. It's all of us. We're all different, and we're all banding together, and all the rebels are banding together with all these different races, and black, white, Asian, all of them, all blending together, and they're becoming the resistance, and they go fight these bad guys. And so that's why it's simple. You know what I mean? It's simple. Yeah, so that's it, guys. I mean, those are my thoughts on The Last Jedi. I'm really not in favor of the way that Disney's taken this show. Will I be amped up to go watch in the theater? I'm not sure anymore. Really, I'm not sure anymore. And if I do, I won't be lining up or anything. I'll probably take my sweet time before I go, if I do go, or just wait for it on Netflix. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed with this one. And I would say my final rating is I'd give this about... I would probably give this 2.5 Akbars out of 5. Maybe 3, but I'm going to stick with 2.5 Akbars, because my biggest beef with this show was, okay, besides the cheesy jokes, besides a lot of things not being answered, I'm like, why would you kill Snoke and not explain where he came from, how he became so powerful, why does he have a mangled face with the battle scars and all this, and they don't explain anything, and they just kill him off, and he's so powerful, and he's like the main bad guy that is controlling the First Order, and they don't explain anything, and then like, they'll just kill him off because they want Kylo Ren to take over, and it just didn't make any sense. And when I saw them kill Snoke, I'm like, I knew right away that they're gonna make a third movie, so I knew right away that Kylo Ren's gonna be the new leader, and he's gonna be the new bad guy. It was just, I'm like, wait for it, and boom, Kylo Ren is now the main bad guy. So, yeah, you can tell I'm not too impressed with this movie. Visually was great, sound was great, but I just wanted a good story. The writing was atrocious. It's badly written. The pacing for the jokes is badly written. Um, the the My friend was saying the tone is off, and yeah, you're right. It's just off. So yeah, I'm not very impressed with this one. I hope the third one, you know, is a little bit better. Not sure when that's going to come out. Probably for in a couple of years, I think. But yeah, tell me what you guys think, and yeah, leave your comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.